Good afternoon, I'm Ed Pozzuoli, president of Tripp Scott. Today I'm here with my law partner, Paul Lopez. Paul, welcome.
Good morning, Ed.
Paul, the recent news about the Sony being hacked and cyber security, you've been in employment law for a long time and you deal with companies directly around their employment issues. Has this issue come up about cybersecurity?
It is a big issue, and it's becoming more prevalent with our practice. What we used to focus on was the internal security measures.
Meaning what?
Meaning that we were trying to make sure that our clients had good systems in place, good strategies in place to protect their data, their information on their computers, so that their employees couldn't take that data and use it for a competitor, for example, or for a new startup business. Now, what we've got to actually focus our clients on and educate them about is the threat of cyber attacks coming from the outside.
External threats.
External threats, which we've seen with Sony, with Target, with Walmart. And what we're seeing and what our clients need to understand is you can't bury your head in the sand. If you do, you've got potential liability. Sony is now the subject of a class action. Walmart was the subject of a class action. And what we're trying to make sure our clients know, and these are from the largest clients to the smallest clients, is you have to be proactive with what you're doing with your IT department.
So you say proactive. What does that mean specifically?
That means making sure that, number one, your IT people are up to speed on all of the latest type of firewalls and security software that they can implement to safeguard from outside attacks. But importantly, though, too, they have to understand how to encrypt data. In other words, you can't just get away with buying the latest package of software and think you're covered. No, your IT people have to develop plans and protocols to make sure that if in the computer network in your business, you've got information that's sensitive and confidential, for example, customer information relating to social security numbers, credit card information. Health information. Many of our clients that are large doctor groups, healthcare providers, they have sensitive information that's on their database.
Right.
Well, guess what? They are trusted to safeguard that information. And if they don't take steps with their IT personnel and actually make it, for example, a line item budget going into year in and year out, that we are going to make sure that our IT people are proactive with protecting this information, they could be the subject of a class action. One of the things we're seeing is that the plaintiffs' bar is getting really aggressive with this stuff. They're recognizing that this is going to be a new landscape of plaintiffs' class action lawsuits. So we're trying to be very proactive with making sure our clients understand you've got to really be ahead of this.
So short of making sure that you appropriate the necessary budget items year after year for IT improvement and paying attention to it, legally, what else can they do?
From a legal standpoint, there's a number of statutes out there that cover this. For example, you've got the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. You've got the Stored Communications Act. Congress is kicking around amendments to some of these acts that are going to have more teeth. So from a legal standpoint, here's the problem. If you as an employer aren't doing some of what we're talking about, which is making sure your IT people are up to speed, making sure your employees actually understand that they have to password protect the information that they're putting into the database, or they're updating their passwords on a quarterly basis, or every 6 months at least. If they're not doing that, they've got exposure. And what we're suggesting to clients is make sure that you stay ahead of all of this.
So process and procedures internally.
Correct.
That help the IT department, changing passwords regularly, certain protections, certain prohibitions inside the workplace,
right.
Access to certain sites as an example, or denial of access to certain sites. Those are the kind of policies that companies need to put in place.
Like I tell clients for many years, your employee handbook's only as good as the last time you used it and the last time you actually had your employee sign off on it. So your computer database policy, your cybersecurity policy, talking about it ain't enough. Enforcing it, communicating it to your employees, making sure that those policies are being, the employees are being reminded of those policies on a continual basis. Because again, if you're simply putting it on a line item on an agenda early in the year, and then that agenda is collecting dust, and you're not doing anything with that information and those policies and strategies, again, a plaintiff's lawyer, a savvy, cagey plaintiff's lawyer is going to tee you up for a class action lawsuit if the information that you've got in your database gets breached.
So the effort not only has to be material on the outset, but it has to be continuous.
Continuous, absolutely. And what I say is this starts from the CEO on down. The CEO needs to be part of those meetings, part of that strategy, implementing those types of protocols, because that really shows that they're actually taking it seriously. And it's not going away, it's going to get worse. The threats are now coming from the outside, and they're coming from overseas, they're coming from the Middle East, they're also coming domestically. And one of the things that in my practice, again, we were focusing on always from the internal standpoint, the employees that are within. What about the rogue former employees from the outside who are savvy and cagey and have contacts in the cyber hacking community? Because there's a whole community that's actually, you see out there that's growing. And what if they want to cause harm to a former employer who let them go? That's what we're seeing, and that's what we're making sure our clients take very seriously.
So there needs to be, take a look at, as an example, separation agreements need to include some of these things, need to address some of these issues, the insurance of the return of sensitive passwords and information of employees who leave your employ.
Right, so an exit plan. So if you're gonna let go of an employee, make sure you sit down with that employee, with the head of HR, and you go through all of the information that employee has with respect to your systems, passwords, information they might have with respect to customers, with respect to social security numbers, you name it, whatever they have access to, make sure that they've turned all that stuff back over to the employer.
We're really just touching the surface on this quick discussion. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to do to protect yourself around the cybersecurity issue and to protect yourself against some of these class action lawsuits. But let's face it, to protect yourself from both internal and external threats as well.
Absolutely. And what I would say to people is, make sure that you are working with counsel that are familiar with this area of the law, because here's the issue. I'm not a computer expert, but I've been able to assemble a wonderful team of some of the nation's best computer forensic experts that help me with my practice to make sure that we are counseling our clients proactively to take the right measures and to use the right people.
On that note, Paul, thank you for the information.
Anytime. Thanks, Ed.